Welcome again to Know Before You Go. We are in this joyful Christmas season, and during this Sunday between Christmas and the coming New Year, we celebrate the Feast of the Holy Family. And so it's as if during the Christmas season we are drawn to ponder some of those things that make Christmas so real for us, such as family, friends, faith, all of these things in life that are of most significance to us. In fact, the readings that were given for this Sunday call to mind, first of all, what family life can be and ought to be. Our first reading is from the book of Sirach, one of the wisdom books of the Hebrew Scriptures or Old Testament, and listen to a few of the suggestions, injunctions that are important for us to consider. It says, God sets a father in honor over his children. A mother's authority he confirms over her sons. In other words, a sense of harmony that comes in a family, almost like with the commandment, honor your father and your mother. Whoever honors his father, when he prays, he is heard. He stores up riches who reveres his mother. So again, the importance of family life and what family does in terms of nourishing us, who we become. Certainly the Holy Family that we consider on this Sunday is there as a model example, because even in that family, Jesus is someone who through most of his life, really all of his life, was attentive to what his parents had to offer him. So, this sense of family. Yet, as we know from our own experience, that although family life can be a source of one of the greatest satisfactions for us, it is also not something that is pain-free, which comes in a wide variety of ways. Our gospel text for this Sunday that the church gives us indicates that. It's the story, really, of the flight of that family to Egypt. You'll recall briefly the story. Joseph, a dream, warned about impending events to come, that he should take the mother and child and flee and get out of the country. And so they go to Egypt, quite a distance away from Bethlehem. So this is not as if the family life is simply from now on, with the birth of Christ, something that goes without sorrows, without pain along the way. They go by night. Again, in a dream, they are told that Herod is dead. And so now they return. But again, Joseph is told in another dream not to return really to where Jesus was born, but they settle in Nazareth. So the whole story of the tension that is there, the stress within which that family lives, as having given birth, they bring the child to a secure environment, Nazareth, where he will grow up. So we simply ponder for a moment, what has been our experience of family? How have we lived out both the joy, the satisfaction, but also the painful aspects that can be there? We are taken beyond, however, our own natural family, also to consider God's family, of which we are all a part, especially as disciples of Christ. And in that sense, discipleship fits in here also during this Christmas season. Oddly, in some ways, people might say that during the days since Christmas, we celebrated not only the Christmas season in which we find ourselves still, but we celebrated the feast of St. Stephen, a martyr, of St. John, and the story of Son, behold your mother, and the story of the martyrdom of the children, the innocents. It's almost such a mixture again that we have here, which reminds us that even in this season of Christmas, we are reminded of the challenges that come our way as disciples of Christ, and that even though the incarnation is the source of our salvation, it is not something without conflict and pain-free. That the world into which Jesus came, indeed, Jesus became inserted into a family, into a culture, into a tradition, and that ongoing incarnation, if you will, continues as it moves towards the life and death of Jesus himself. So incarnation is good news for us, but at the same time, that good news is always a mixed blessing, because life on earth carries with it both that challenge of joy and sacrifice. Joy, family life, incarnation, following Christ. But sacrifice, the flight to Egypt, the ongoing challenge of discipleship if we are to be true witnesses to what the meaning of Christmas and incarnation is about. So, this wonderful, joyous Christmas season, a time of awareness of God having become present among us on earth. But not to lose sight of the fact that although God is with us, that doesn't mean redemption implies a completely pain-free life. Perhaps in some ways we might say that one of the beautiful lines we have in our readings this Sunday comes really from the second reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Colossians, in which he talks about qualities, and this is probably why the church has given us this text, qualities that make for good family life, but also Christian life in general. Qualities like compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, patience. And then Paul says, and over all these put on love. That is the bond of perfection. Christmas, joy, incarnation, God with us, a holy family into which Jesus was born, into which God inserted himself, but its meaning in some ways, the meaning of the power of love. Over all these put on love. That's what the incarnation is about. That's what the message of Christmas is all about. That's what God is all about. Manifesting love and inviting us as disciples to love one another. Love never coming without self-sacrifice, whether as Christians or in family life. There is, at the close of this text from Colossians, a text that has become unacceptable in many ways among some these days, because it also talks about family, but it'll say, wives, be subordinate to your husbands. But then it also says to husbands, love your wives, avoid any bitterness towards them. It's a text that ought not disturb us. It's clearly influenced by the culture and the times, and it is intended to be a manifestation of what earlier in the text Paul had said, over all these put on love. Let us come back and remind ourselves we are in the midst of one of the great liturgical seasons of the year. We are celebrating yet the joy of Christmas. We are aware, indeed in our gospel text, that the Magi have come and gone, although we still wait to celebrate Epiphany and the coming of the Magi. But we see the sacrifice of this holy family, we see the holiness of the family, but we also celebrate the joy of Christmas and the joy that Mary and Joseph must have felt when they arrived safe in Egypt, and then later safe again back in Nazareth. So let us all continue in the days to come to celebrate the joy of this season of the incarnation of the Word of God among us. Thank you.